Namaste. My name is Dr. Prakash. I welcome you all to this program. Before we start, I would like to briefly explain about our organization. Samutkarsha IAS Academy is a non-profit organization. We have our main center in Hubli, North Karnataka. Aim of Samutkarsh is nation building through IAS, IPS, and other civil services. We work under the guidance of Sankalp IAS Academy, New Delhi, which is a leading institute in India in this connection. We at Samutkarsh conduct various programs starting from school level. Through our school programs, we create awareness among parents and students about civil service examination and the significance of administrative services. We conduct activities related to general knowledge, our nation and culture, communication skills, and the like. At the college level, we conduct orientation programs, and thousands of students have been benefited from this. After graduation, we conduct coaching classes for both preliminary and main examination at our main center in Hubli. To this program, faculty members come from New Delhi Center of Sankalp. The interview guidance program is conducted in Bangalore, and many of our students who attended this program have been selected for IAS, IPS, and other services. We also have a study center in Bangalore. With this, we will now move on to the program. Today's talk is on the world and India post-COVID-19. And the speaker is Shri Mohandas, who is with us now. Really, we are very lucky to have him with us today. He needs no introduction, but it is my duty to still introduce him. Shri Mohandas is the chairman of Manipal Global Education. He is also the chairman of Orin Capital. He was earlier a board member of Infosys. He worked there as CFO also. He co-founded Akshaya Patra, the world's largest midday meal program. For his contributions, he has been awarded prestigious Padma Shri Award at Karnataka Rajyotsava Award. He has many more feathers in his cap, but due to want of time, I have cut short. So now we would begin with the program. Initially, Shri Mohandas would speak for about 40 minutes and then answer your questions for about 20 minutes. You may please post your questions on Facebook page. I will collect them and put them across to Shri during question and answer session. Now, I would request Shri to kindly deliver his talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here to talk to all of you, and also happy to understand what you folks are doing to get our Kannadigas into the government in the IAS, IPS level. We need more Kannadigas in the All India Civil Services. And this is a great service that you are providing. If we are talking to each other in the beginning of March, if I told you, or anybody had told you, that 1 month later, the whole country will be under lock-in, we would be laughed out of the room. It was like science fiction. How can the whole country be locked? How can the whole world be locked? How is it possible at all? And here we are, locked for about nearly 60 days in Bangalore, all because of a small, invisible virus. And this has spread to more than 150 countries. It means it's affecting a larger part of the world directly than the First World War and Second World War. The First World War, 1914, 1918, led to 1.6 crore people being killed. Second World War, 1939, 1945, led to about 6 crore people being killed. Of course, the fatalities in this COVID-19 are not so high, and I think the death rate is quite low, but the fear is palpable, and all countries are closed, and there is infection in more than larger part of the world. There were no 150 countries at that point of time, but now there are. So it's a global event. Every country is affected, and we don't know how to come out of it. We don't know whether there'll be a vaccine, and we don't know whether large numbers are going to get infected again. There's a fear that large numbers could get infected. That's why everybody locked in the social distancing to make sure that it does not spread, because if it spreads, the health system and everything would have been overwhelmed. No country had the capacity to treat people. Even in New York, all the hospitals are full. So we must understand this is a global event of unprecedented dimension. Being a very global event, it has exposed the chinks in the economic structure of the world. Now there is something called the global supply chain. The global supply chain came into being as a result of the Industrial Revolution, where the European countries led by Great Britain set up factories using steam power. They manufactured goods. The goods were cheaper, of a standard quality, and then they exported it to shipping, through warehousing, through banking, to retail, etc., to the colonies. And they took raw material from the colonies and took it back to Great Britain and Europe. And they became rich selling both sides, buying raw material cheap, selling what they produce at an expensive place, because they rule the world, and they destroy the local industry. Now, this global supply chain is a phenomena, and those who control the global supply chain control the world economy. Today, the world discovered that China is in control of the global supply chain. China makes up 24% of the total manufacturing in the whole world. China is the largest exporter in the world, largest importer in the world, largest foreign exchange reserves. Its economy is $15 trillion. It's growing faster than the United States. United States economy is $21 trillion. It is the second largest economy in the world after the United States. India is only $3 trillion. So the world discovered that they were dependent on China for many, many things. America discovered more than 90% of some medicine came from China. Japan discovered a large part of what they manufacture comes from China. Southeast Asia discovered that a large part of what they buy comes from China. When China shut up shop in February and March, the world was shaken up. And China is the second largest consumer of oil in the world and the largest importer. And when China shut up shop, shut the whole country, then it led to disruption in the global supply chain and demonstrated the dependence on China for the rest of the world. Of course, President Trump had gone after China in raising tariffs where the Chinese market was not open. It's a mercantilist economy controlled by the Communist Party. They don't allow you to come and sell like we allow them to come to India. And in fact, India has had a $60 to $70 billion trade deficit with China for the last many years. For the last 10 years, more than $500 billion of trade deficit has been there because China exports a lot to us because many traders think they do it cheaper. And they don't buy anything from us because they're very nationalistic and they like to buy very locally. They only want to buy raw material. So the global supply chain was disrupted and it had repercussions all over. After President Trump increased the tariffs on China, the oil consumption was soft, the world economy degrew, and world trade came down. So there was an impact, but this sudden shutdown accelerated the impact and showed the fault lines in the global supply chain. And this had repercussions because most countries now say that we don't want to depend on China, we want to diversify. So many American companies are diversifying to Vietnam, a country of 9.5 crore people, which has got a long border with China. And this diversification is coming through Chinese companies, which are going to Vietnam. They're coming through Cambodia, and other countries. And the Japanese government has said we'll spend $2 billion incentivizing Japanese companies to go away from China. The Japanese government has declared 450 Japanese companies as national champions. And this had a repercussion, and the global supply chain has been disrupted. So in future, we'll see much of global manufacturing spread across the world. Some of it may come to India. There is a possibility. But certainly, China will no longer be the dominating power. It will be a slow decline. In fact, over the last 10 years, 1 crore people are lesser in Chinese manufacturing. The Chinese working age population of 650 million is coming down by 3 to 4 million because China is getting older and they're not been producing enough babies. They only produce 15 million babies, 1.5 crore babies a year. India produces 2.5 crore babies a year for the last 30 years. The next big industry that disrupted is oil. Oil at $65, $70 a barrel was a $4.5 trillion industry, the second largest industry in the world. And now, because of the tariffs put by President Trump, oil consumption was down a little bit. And also America had become the largest producer of oil in the world at 13.5 million barrels a day. And this happened because America discovered shale gas and oil. When you drill for oil, you drill down vertically. But now, which for shale gas and oil, there's a lot of oil and gas trapped in small rock formation. So you drill down vertically and go horizontally from a point and tap into all these points and draw it out. So America shut up its exports in 1971. It is the largest exporter of oil during the oil shock. And now, again, they opened up. They're exporting 3 million barrels a day. The world consumes 100 million barrels a day. 100 million barrels a day, after which OPEC does 30 million. So the market was soft. And when the COVID happened, the world consumption of 100 million barrels a day came down to 70 million because everything stopped. Planes stopped flying, international travel came down, people are not using the cars and the vehicles on the road, and petrochemicals consumption came down, shipping came down, everything came down suddenly, and oil consumption came down globally from 100 million barrels a day to 70 million barrels. And this created surpluses. To stop the decline in prices, Saudi Arabia spoke to Russia and said, why don't you cut production? The Russians said no. The Russians said no because they were under sanctions by the West. And they said, if we cut down production, America and American companies will benefit because we will maintain the price and they will sell more. They're not going to cut production. So Saudi Arabia said, we are going to increase production. They increased their production from 9 million barrels a day to 11 million barrels a day. They're one of the cheapest oil producers. So oil prices came down from $45, $50 a barrel to something like about $15 a barrel for Brent and $10 a barrel for Western Texas crude. We also saw oil becoming negative. Now, have you ever heard of a time when people will pay you to buy oil? So there were some derivative contracts which expired and it was settled at minus $37 a barrel. That means you got the minus $37 if you took delivery, because in the forward market and derivative market, there's a time when you have to decide whether to take it physically or you have to cut it off. And that point of time, because of surplus oil, all the tankers in the world were full of oil floating around. And in America, in Cushing fields, the total storage had gone up to 70%. So there's a fear that more oil will be produced. There's no place to store. And then you have to pay people to take it away. So I think the oil industry was devastated, and this had its repercussions on the world. Venezuela is in deep trouble, is already in trouble. Now you had Nigeria in trouble, Iraq in trouble, because Iraq depends on 80% of its budget for oil. Saudi Arabia balanced its budget at $85. Now Saudi Arabia recently said that they're going to increase VAT from 5% to 15%. They're going to reduce the allowances given to government servants from next month. And they're taking measures to cut their cost. They got $450 billion of reserves, and they are drawing down $32 billion this year. So the oil economy coming down is having its repercussions. Russia has also got some challenges because the Russian budget is balanced at $45. And in America, there's a lot of bankruptcies happening in the oil industry. So second largest industry in the world is hurt very badly. And the industry value has come down from $4.5 trillion to something like about $1.5–2 trillion. And this is really going to impact the world as we go along. Will it come back to normal? It may take another 1 or 2 years because demand is very soft and people may no longer travel in the same time and same way. And consumption may not come up in the short run for various reasons. The next big thing that happened in the world was that the largest industry in the world, travel, tourism, hospitality, that is hotels, and retail trade, just shut down. We just saw that planes stopped flying internationally, they stopped flying nationally, and most of the airlines are filing for bankruptcy, are in deep trouble because they can't sustain themselves. They were very competitive. We saw many of the hotels shut down. All hotels are shut down around the world. Very few people are staying in the hotels. Tourism is almost dead because nobody is traveling for tourism. Retail stores have come down because people are not going to shops all around the world. And restaurants have been shut down. And this had its repercussions because the service industry is the largest part of global industry and provides the largest quantum of jobs. So suddenly unemployment has gone up in America and other areas. And this is very devastating. So what has been the result of all this? The result of all this has been the growth in unemployment. America has about 16 crore people who are on payroll. 3.3 crore people don't have jobs. 3.3 crore people. This is all the jobs created since 2008. And now unemployment will be as high as the Great Depression of 1929. So America has reacted, and I'll explain the reaction, what America has done. So America is in trouble. UK is in deep trouble because 5 to 8 million people don't have jobs. Europe is in deep trouble. China is seeing a decline in employment. Unemployment has increased. And Japan too is in deep trouble. All over the world, suddenly the global economy is shrinking and everybody is in deep trouble. Now, what is the impact on the global economy? The impact on the global economy this year and next year is very severe. IMF has said at the beginning of the year, the world may grow by 2.5%, 3%. The world GDP is $82 trillion. It'll grow by 2.5%, 3% a year. But now they're saying it'll be minus 2.5%, 3%. But if you look at the first quarter, January, February, March, US economy shrank by 3.6%, China by 6.5%, UK by 2%, Europe by about 3.5%, 4%, and Japan possibly by 3 to 4%. So the whole economy has shrunk, and America was only shut down for 15 days. This quarter, it may shrink by maybe 7 to 8% because it's been shut down in April. Even in May, they're not come back fully. They may come back by June, but it will not be normal. So I believe this whole year, the GDP, global GDP may come down by 8 to 10%. That means the decline could be between $6 to $8 trillion in GDP. This is severe, severe, severe. We are not seeing it happen in living memory. So this is going to be an extremely bad year for everybody globally. Now, how did the central banks of the world react? Whenever a crisis happens in the West, the central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank of England, the European Central Bank, always pump in liquidity because they say if there's a crisis, liquidity in the money markets disappears, so they pump in liquidity. So the Federal Reserve reduced the interest rates to 0.25% for overnight money. The Bank of England reduced the interest rate to 0.25%. The EU reduced the interest rate to 0.5%. And Japan said that they're going to have negative interest rates. Before this, there was $36 trillion of government bonds globally for the developed countries, out of which 18 trillion was quoting at negative rates. That means if you buy a bond for 100 rupees, you may get back only 95, 96 rupees. So you have to pay government for buying the bonds. So to us in India, where we have to pay high interest rates, this looks terrible. It looks like out of the world. But now with interest rates down, they've been pumping money. The Federal Reserve balance sheet was about $4.5, $5 trillion. And the Federal Reserve said, we'll buy government bonds, we'll buy corporate bonds, we'll buy ETFs, we'll buy financial instruments. And they pumped in a lot of money in the money market. Even in Great Britain, the Bank of England is pumping in money. In the EU, they're coming out with $750 billion are pumping in money. And the Bank of Japan has said that we are going to buy unlimited bonds, government and corporate bonds. As it is, the Bank of Japan is the largest investor in the stock market. They bought equity in most of the countries. The central banks reacted in the only way they know, by creating liquidity and making sure the interest rates come down so that banks can lend money, people can borrow money and pay very less interest rates. And this borrowing will help them revive employment and keep going. And this creates zombie companies. Zombie companies are those that can pay very low interest rate, but they're not earning enough to service their debt. So countries then came out with stimuluses. The US came out with a $2.5 trillion stimulus. The GDP is $21 trillion. And the stimulus is that we will give money to many MSMEs to keep their employees. And if they keep the employees for the next 6 months, it will be given as a grant. Then they gave working capital to many MSMEs, about $650 billion. Then they gave grants and loans to airline industry, hotels, etc. So totally about $2.5 trillion of stimulus has come. The UK has come with a 365 billion stimulus in pounds. The UK is giving £2,000 to every business, small businesses, up to 80% of £2,500 monthly salary. About 7-8 million people are employed. That is, government is paying them money. And they did it for 3 months. Now they extended it for another 4 months. And in Germany, 8 million people, 80 lakh people under training. Government is paying for them. And in Japan, they came with a stimulus of 20% of GDP, where they gave every Japanese $750. They just gave them money. Of course, they don't have DBT. They're giving checks. There's a bit of a problem. Even in America, they don't have the technology that India has. So around the world, about $6.5 trillion of stimulus has been done, $6.5 trillion. And huge amount of money is being given by all the governments to keep the economy going, give money to people so they can survive and they can live. It is always a matter of survival. We don't know when this is going to end, but I reckon by the time it ends, about $10 trillion of stimulus will be given by all the governments around the world. Now, this has had an impact on many things. The world was getting very globalized. So 6 months back, 4 months back, you could take a flight, go to any country, possibly get a visa on arrival, or get a visa easily, go do business. So globalization was very important. You could emigrate to the United States using H-1B visa. You could go to Europe if you got high qualification, etc. Now people are questioning, have we globalized too much? Because globalization has meant the benefit has gone to China. China has grown from $150 billion in GDP in 1978 when they opened up to $15 trillion. And China has become the factory of the world. China has become the second largest economy in the world and a very, very major manufacturer. So you have this feeling that globalization has not worked for the West, and now they're trying to shut doors. So in Europe, they brought about restrictions for FDI, so Chinese companies cannot buy the companies which are cheap. And Japan has created 415 national champions. The United States has created security so they can't go buy the companies. President Trump has suspended immigration for 60 days. And everywhere in the world, they're saying we're not going to allow immigrants in, we're going to shut shop, etc. So globalization is under retreat, and this will have severe repercussions on India and other countries in future. One positive thing is, because of the shutdown, all around the world, people are seeing blue skies, the air has become fresh, water in the lakes and rivers has become cleaner. Even in the Ganga in Haridwar, you can see the bottom of the river, you can see the pebbles, etc. The fish are coming back. Even in Varanasi, you can see that. Even in Bangalore, I'm told the Vishabharati stream is becoming cleaner because all the polluting industries are shut, everything is shut. And in Bangalore too, you see the blue sky, the air is fresher. Delhi, you can actually see India Gate. Earlier, you could not see India Gate because there is so much of smog in Delhi. And people are saying they got alpine climate in Delhi. So the air has become cleaner. And doctors say that if you have bad air, you'll be affected by COVID more because your lungs will be damaged and then COVID attacks the lungs. So I think that has been one big positive so far. So people around the world say we can reverse climate change. Now, what about India? India too has felt the repercussions. India has been totally shut down since March 25th. Of course, in Bangalore, we shut down 2 weeks before that. So today, this year, India is going to have major economic challenges. India may have zero growth and maybe negative growth this year with large-scale unemployment. Now, if you look at the composition of the Indian GDP, agriculture makes up only 15% of GDP. And to those of you in Karnataka, agriculture makes up only 10% of GDP. In Karnataka, 35% of the population depend on agriculture, which is 10%, which grows at 3.5–4%. In India, 43% of people depend on 15% of GDP, growing at 3.5–4%. Per capita income for India is 55,000 rupees per year for the agriculture sector. About 25% of people in India depend on industry, which is about 24–25% of GDP. And the balance maybe 30%, depend on services, which are for India about 55–57% of GDP. For Karnataka, services are 66% of GDP. And about 41.5% of people depend on services. So Karnataka has got the highest share of services in the GDP for any state in India because of its IT industry, which has been a boom to Karnataka. Now, if you look at economic growth, it's quite possible that agriculture will grow at 3.5–5%. This year, we'll have 295 million tons of food grains. It will be a record year. The Rabi crop is being harvested, and the monsoon is expected to be normal. Monsoon may come in the next 2–3 weeks. And this year, we'll have good grains, good production, and therefore, we will have, growth in agriculture. Industry is devastated. Industry consists of construction, mining, and manufacturing. Manufacturing has stopped for 1.5 months. Only now they're trying to revive, even though they can get only 30% of labor. So for the whole year, this 25% of GDP may come down by 10%. There could be decline in industry by 10%, but negative 2.5%. Services, which is 57% of GDP, has a severe problem because all the restaurants are shut, trade, retail is shut, shops are shut, tourism is shut, hotels are shut, aviation is shut, everything is shut for 2 months. And you can't make it up in the balance of the year. Even when you open up, how many people will travel, how many people will go stay in hotels, how many people will fly, how many people will go to retail stores. Of course, you'll buy your basic necessities, but how many people will buy cars? In April, for the first time in our history, not a single car was sold. It's remarkable what happened in April. And even now, the number of vehicles sold will be very less. And the auto industry is a very big part of our manufacturing. And in services, the only sector that will be okay is government, because government pays salaries through taxes. And of course, in many states, they're trying to cut government salaries because the states have got no money. And there's a major problem that's happening. So India's GDP at the beginning of the COVID, people are saying will come down from 5.5%, 6% to 2.5%, 3%. Now, many people saying it will be to minus 2.5%, I would say, but it could be anywhere between -4 to -5%. Our GDP is 205 lakh crores, $2.93 trillion. So we were supposed to grow 10%, 6.5% in real terms, 3.5%, 4% in inflation. So we were supposed to add 20 lakh crores to our GDP, but we could end up adding -5 lakh crores. Our GDP end of 2021 will be less than what the GDP was in March 2020. So we're going to have severe challenges. And then there's large-scale unemployment in India. CMI says 26% unemployed. Let us look at data. India has 137 crore population, latest population. About 17 crores are above the age of 60. So we got 120 crores. Out of 120 crores, 50 crores are below the age of 20. So we got 70 crores in the age group of 20 to 60, who are normally the working population, because the large number of young people are in college. Now, out of this, about 55 crore people are supposed to be working. That is the people who are in the working age population actually working. 45% is in agriculture. That means about 25 crores in agriculture. They will have work, they will do it. 30 crore is outside agriculture in industry and services, out of which 8 crore, 8.5 crore are in the formal sector through PF and ESI, because they've been paying contribution every single month. 2.5 crore is the government sector, state, center, parastatals, etc. Now, out of this 8.5 crores who are paying ESI, PF, but 4.5 crore is contract labor, out of which 2.5, 3 crores have been laid off, because you can always tell the contract laborer that we don't want you to work, and they have no bargaining power, they have no say. Under the balance 20 crores, maybe who are doing small work everywhere, maybe 10 crores don't have work. Now, why is this large number? Because in the urban area, there's a lot of people coming from various states, the migrants. We're seeing the problems today. Rajiv Kumar of Niti Aayog says that 7.2 crore people are migrants who work in other states. So we're seeing a large outflow of these people go from Delhi, Mumbai, other places, including Bangalore, our own city, but it's largely Delhi and Mumbai. And, we're seeing it Hyderabad, etc. And they're going back because they're saying in the local state, they're not getting food, they're not being paid, there's no work, and they can't stay. So they're saying, let's go back to our village. Since there are no railways, only now it started, they're walking. Some of them have been killed in accidents. It's very sad. And Rajiv Kumar says maybe 1.5, 2 crore people would have gone back to their own villages. Where do they come from? Primarily from UP and Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. Why is that? Because these states are surplus in people. Their population is still growing at 2.5%, even though West Bengal is 1.8. Fertility is only 1.8. Bihar is 3.4. Bihar has got 13 crore people. UP has got 22 crore people. Madhya Pradesh, I think 8 crores. Rajasthan, 8 crores, etc. And there is not enough work there. So people go from there to other places to get work. And when they are in the streets, they're doing small jobs, there's no work, they will go back. So they're saying we'll go back to hometown or village. We'll be safer there. We'll get some food. Our family is there. And if you are ill, family will take care of it. So they're going back. Some of them are going back with the entire family because they had bought their family. And I think this exposes the bad state of migrants, because the state governments where they come don't take care of them. Kejriwal did not take care of the migrants. He pushed them out. And we saw the huge throng of people going to the interstate bus service. And even in Bangalore, we saw people agitating, because the state governments should have taken care of them, noted them, given them food, and made sure they're comfortable. Because Prime Minister Modi has asked people not to move out on March 25th. He said, stay in the same place. But the state governments all failed all across, including in Mumbai, where there have been protests. Even now, the protests are continuing in Kerala, in all other states too. But there's a major problem that shows that the bigger states are not creating employment, and people have to go long ways to earn 10, 15,000 rupees. And when they earn 10, 15,000 rupees, possibly they send 6, 7,000 rupees, spend their balance. They don't have savings. They are the mercy of contractors, and they do odd jobs. They don't have social security. They don't have access to health. It's a very sad thing. And there is deep exploitation of this labor all across India. And the government has been very ineffective in knowing there's a problem, understanding what to do, etc. You know, India has a non-resident ministry for non-resident Indians to take care of people who are gone to Dubai and other places. Kerala has got a non-resident. Karnataka too has got a non-resident department. But we don't have a non-resident department for migrants. So UP should have it, Bihar should have it. So this shows. So they could large-scale unemployment. It will take maybe 2 or 3 years for unemployment to come down. Then another big issue is with economic growth down, we could have negative inflation. And negative inflation means that it could be minus. Our inflation now is about 4% CPI. In the WPI, wholesale price index come down to 1%, but the data is inaccurate. In CPI, we have a problem. 46% of CPI is food, basically onions, food grains, etc. There's no inflation in cereals, but there could be inflation in fruits and vegetables because there are supply chain considerations and problems. And India is the only country possibly where increase in onion prices shift interest rates, because RBI takes CPI to fix interest rates. And this year, inflation could come down to zero or negative because in industry, there's no pricing power. In services, there is no pricing power. And even in food grain, there'll be no pricing power because demand will come down. People may have rations and government subsidies, but demand will be down. So all over, I think we could have negative inflation. The world commodity prices have come down. Steel prices have come down. Aluminum has come down. Copper has come down. Zinc has come down. Everything has come down. Iron ore has come down because globally, there's lesser consumption. So we could have negative inflation rates. But the big thing that's happened in the world and India is change in habits. Change in habits primarily because everybody has gone digital. The baby boomers, people above 60, are now buying through e-commerce. They're seeing their mobile for entertainment, going to Hotstar and Netflix. They're talking to the children using Zoom like we are doing today. And they're talking to doctors to their phone, and they're interacting with the rest of the world digitally, and they're also doing banking digitally. So all generation, then the baby boomers, Generation Y, Generation X, Generation Z are all looking at. So there's a shift in habits. People say that if for 45 days, if you change your habits, then the habit become permanent. So once you come out of it, everybody will be digital. All business models have to change. The way government interacts with people will be digital. The way we talk to each other will be digital. And with social distancing, I don't know how people will talk to each other, go with each other, walk into each other. Young people will have deep trouble trying to, do things that they always like. So I think there's going to be a deep challenge, but habits have changed. And that means the digital world, which was 5 to 7 years ahead, has already come today. And because of Geo, the magic of Geo, everybody gets cheap data at very small prices. And now there's almost unlimited data. Data usage has gone up by 45, 50%. And this will only go up further. And we should be grateful that Geo has come in the last 4 years to make sure that data prices have come, and that has helped us. So there's a change in habits globally. America, there's a change in habit all around the world. So digital era has dawned on us, driven by COVID. Now, will global trade impact India? Global trade could impact India. And I think India will get something. But India is seen as a difficult place by foreign players for whatever reason. I don't know why. Because we have improved our policies. FDI is allowed everywhere. There are no restrictions. And even today, in the last 4 days, the finance minister has opened up India much, much more. But the problem is when you come to the states, you want land, they harass you. You want power, they harass you. When you go before a high power committee, they say yes to everything. But then you have to go apply for power separately. You have to go apply for land separately. And those institutions are very hostile to industry. Even the labor inspectors are very hostile. You all know about it. Hopefully, when you become IAS officer, you will stop harassing people. You will not be hostile to industry, because we need industry to come and create jobs. Yes, you have to protect people, but there's a fine line between protection and harassment and the use of the danda, the power that you people may have. So I think it's important. The state governments have to come together and send teams to go and get those industries to come. So we could get huge number of jobs and employment if we're able to do that. And Karnataka has set up something called Invest Karnataka, but that's been sabotaged by the government officials. It's not been made to work. We have spoken to the earlier government. They agreed to that. Deshpande had done it, but it's not working. We're telling now our chief minister to revive it too. So in China, when foreigners come, the Chinese companies, locals set up manufacturing, contract manufacturing. They manufacture, put their chapa and do it. So we also need our industrialists to go to all these companies, tell them, come to India, we'll set up manufacturing for you, and we'll do everything for you, become part of the supply chain, and you can put your brand and you can sell. So we need to change the way we get industry. And if we do that, we will get something too. So I think that's a big opportunity for us. Of course, the climate has improved in India. The air is fresher, the water is fresher. We must make sure that we don't have enough pollution in future. And I think this is going to change the work habits of people. In the IT industry, 90% of people are working from home. IT industry has 45 lakh people, 40 lakh people are working from home. In 15 days, they made the transition. And now all across, everybody in offices, 25, 30, 40% work from home on rotation. They will not come to office, so traffic could come down. The city environment could improve. Of course, technology will be required and more bandwidth will be consumed. They will not come because in every office, there's a density. Now, you've got to keep social distancing of 6.5 feet between two people. And if you have to do that, you require more space per people. You can't walk closely with people in the corridors. You can't sit closely with people. You can't sit and eat closely with people in the cafeteria. You have to maintain distance. That means the existing places everywhere cannot have too many people. So now, how did the government of India react to all this? Well, first of all, the Reserve Bank of India reduced the interest rates. Reserve Bank of India pumped in liquidity by reducing CRR. They said that you can keep cash only up to 80% of your liabilities requirement. And then they also gave refinancing for mutual fund, 50,000 crores, agriculture, 50,000 crores, SMEs, 50,000 crores, etc. They released a lot of money, maybe 5 to 6 lakh crores. But banks are not lending. Well, banks are not lending because they're scared of MSMEs. So today, if you look at MSMEs, a survey says that 25% MSMEs have money for 1 month, 25% are for 3 months only. That means 50% don't have money for more than 3 months, they will shut down. And many have already shut down. And many have become bankrupt already because they don't have liquidity. Banks are not lending money. Even the State Bank of India chairman gave 10% more working capital. So there is a problem. So because RBI released so much of money, the banks have kept 8.4 lakh crore, 8.4 lakh crore in overnight money with RBI at 3.75%. So RBI should take further action to incentivize them to lend money. And the total deposits in India are something like about 1 crore 30 lakh crores, and total lending is about 1 crore 5 lakh crores or so. So the system is not very big, but even then the banks are not lending. So RBI has done a lot, but what did the government do? Well, the government reacted in a good manner. They came out with the 1.7 lakh crore subsidy. They gave DBT of 500 rupees to 20 crore women. They gave free gas for 3 months, free rations for 3 months. Everybody, old age pensions are paid. Construction labor of 3.2 crores got 3,000 rupees each. And industrial labor were allowed to get money from the ESI. They could get grants from the ESI. They could withdraw the ESI their contribution from the PF, etc. So government did a lot in the first thing to make sure that people don't starve. People have enough money. But the migrants don't have a ration card. The migrants don't have any documentation. So there is a problem there. Hopefully they'll solve the problem. Even the state governments have done many things. Our chief minister has released 1,600 crores for migrants and for giving relief to people is inadequate. And Akshay Patra has delivered 4.5 crore meals till today. I think it's 4.5 crores today. I think everybody all around is providing meals, helping people, but it's inadequate because the population is so large and the problem is so large. Then the government said that we will come out with a 20 lakh program. So Prime Minister has come out with a 20 lakh program. In the first phase, they gave a 3 lakh crore guarantee to MSMEs, 20,000 crores for subordinate debt, 50,000 crores for equity. And then they said we'll give money to NBFCs to lend, etc. And then they came out with labor reforms. They came out with agriculture reforms where they said we'll keep 1 lakh crore for farm gate, and we will free the farmers from having to go to the mandi, the mandi yard and APMC yard, and then we will allow them to sell to anybody they want. They liberated the farmers. The biggest benefit has been the farmers have been liberated. And for industry, there was reforms. FDI was increased for defense. And they said we'll only buy things which are made in India for defense for a period of time. And even for aviation, they liberalized. So many of the industrial areas liberalized. But now the finance minister is talking on TV, giving greater liberalization. Hopefully, they'll give some money to the states. So the government of India sees the moment. We could complain that people have not got enough money, this will happen. But you must remember that much of this, what the government has to do will come in future. If everything is done now, money is given away and make people are more happy, and then later with this COVID doesn't go away, we'll be in deeper trouble. So it has to be calibrated. Now we had 3 rounds of lockdown. I think May 17th, 18th, this lockdown may go away, but there will be hot spots, red spots, and I think the state governments will have to take decision how much to close and how much to open up, etc. So everything is in a state of flux. So India too has a challenge. I hope now the government will start spending on infrastructure this year, so that if you spend a large amount on infrastructure, next year you must plan for a growth of 6.5%, 7% to create jobs back. And it can only happen if there's a demand stimulus this year and a lot of money is spent on agriculture and the bank lending goes up so people can start economic activity. So through liquidity, economic activity stops, the job creation can happen. Otherwise, we're going to have deep trouble next year too, and that could lead to social unrest. Now, how are companies reacting? Companies are reacting by cutting costs, reducing the fixed costs. Companies are reacting by cutting salaries for top people. Companies are reacting by laying off people wherever they don't have money. Companies are reacting by changing their model. Companies are reacting by making sure that they improve their customer touch. And companies are trying to come with the plans to survive. So when this lifts, maybe in the next couple of months, through a graded manner, we could see a very change India, where the velocity of business could be lower. There could be lesser SMEs, lesser retail shop, lesser areas. Definitely, the airline industry is very badly affected. We don't know whether they'll survive, because I don't know whether relief has come. And even the airports are in deep trouble. Retail is in deep trouble, and many other areas are in deep trouble. So we don't know what is going to happen, and hopefully we'll come out of it. So I'll stop here and thank you, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, sir. The first question is,
please go ahead.
The first question is, what policy measures are necessary to prevent import of Chinese goods into India and promote Swadeshi goods?
Well, my belief is India should not shut its market to anybody. What you must do is to prevent dumping. Now, there is dumping happening from China because the Chinese sell at price, and we should be very careful that they don't come and dump. So that's why you must raise tariffs for China. Also, we have a $60 billion trade deficit. So I think the government should tell China very clearly, we don't balance the trade deficit. We are not going to do trade with you, or we're going to put very high tariffs. China may challenge that in the WTO. We have to be prepared, because China is hurting us by dumping. And also, we have to promote our own industries. So government has said now that up to 200 crores, there'll be no global tender for MSMEs, and we must reduce our supply chain costs and make India, much more efficient. So Prime Minister has given a call, buy Swadeshi, buy local, be vocal, etc. So we should all buy local stuff, make sure that we don't buy some imported stuff just because it's cheaper, but we must keep an open market. We must not shut India up. We must be open, but you must prevent dumping. And I think politically, you must talk to China that you must buy more from us to balance trade. With every other country, we have a trade deficit or a trade surplus, which is bearable, but the China has become unbearable, and Chinese are just not opening the market. So we have to watch it, and we have to take some precautions.
And the second question is, countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, etc. are also trying to attract many multinational companies which are having manufacturing bases in China for shifting their manufacturing activity to the respective countries. Can India overtake them in attracting such MNCs?
Well, I've been watching India and industry for the last 30 years. I've been working with government. So my answer is, India will not be very successful for a very important reason. Government of India has made policies, but our state governments are just not up to the mark. See, today in Bangalore, we get so many delegations come. Delegation come here, talk, but there's no follow-up. Udyoga Mitra and others talk to them, they have a dinner, they go meet Chief Minister, they shake hands, after nothing happens. There is no team of people to pursue them. There is no memory of who they are. There is no, let us say, good way of engaging. Now, if you go to Malaysia and talk to them, they welcome you, they appoint somebody to take care of you, they give you the land immediately, they give you everything immediately, and they don't harass you. Whereas when you come to Karnataka, go to any stage, they're very nice to you, talk to you, but when it comes to action on the ground, it is pathetic. I mean, I feel sad. Even in Karnataka, it happens. I worked with many more industry ministers than many of you will never know. I worked with many more chief ministers for the last 30 years. I've handled things personally too. It's very difficult to do business in Karnataka because the attitude of KITB, attitude of Udyog Mitra, attitude of BESCOM is not very good. It's not conducive. They will not give you power connection urgently. They will harass you. The KITB will not give you the proper amount of land. They will not do it very cleanly. So I think there's trouble. So unless state governments improve matters, state governments really believe a single window and promise that it will happen. Of course, Karnataka did a remarkable thing. They said farmers can sell land to anybody they want. They don't have to go to the DC, apply for conversion and sell land. Then after selling the land, they can file with the DC. The DC doesn't come back within 30 days. It is deemed to be sold. I think that's remarkable. So must free the farmers and the landowners give them the right to sell the land. And also power should be available. I don't know why government should run the power distribution companies. Power is a surplus commodity in this country. Why should we treat it as scarce resource? It's not a scarce resource. So land we should be able to buy. Power should come automatically. There's no need for any rent seeking in power like they do. And I think it's very important to open up. But more important is all our industrialists should come together and work with government. Government should talk to industrialists, go together with them. And the industries should come and meet others and say, we will set up the factory, we'll do everything else. And we can do that. If they do that, much more can come. Something will come, but it's not adequate. But we've seen Yogi Adityanath set up a team. I think they'll do well. Yogi is very gung-ho about it. Tamil Nadu is doing something. Karnataka has announced a group under Chief Secretary to work. But, we have to wait and see.
Thirdly, what would be the future of IT, information technology industry in India, especially Bangalore?
Well, IT will do well. Let me give you some data about Bangalore. Bangalore's got a population of 1.1 crore people, 20 lakh people work in the IT industry. Last year, Bangalore exported 55 lakh crores. That is about 3,75,000 crores. 25% of Karnataka GDP is IT, comes from Bangalore. And I think IT has done a remarkable work for Bangalore. 60% of taxes, 65% of taxes in Karnataka come from Bangalore. So IT has a great impact. And Bangalore has been selling the largest quantum of grade A office space in the world for the last 15 years. So IT has a remarkable impact, and IT is very global. Bangalore has 7,000 startups, 16 unicorns. Bangalore gets $4.5 billion of money for startups. Bangalore is the largest reservoir of technical people in the world, overtaking the Silicon Valley right now. The future of IT is very bright, but Bangalore needs to be decongested. We should solve our traffic problem. We should make sure that government is a little bit more friendly. Government is friendly. And they always are helpful, but they must do more by improving infrastructure. For example, that Hebbal flyover is a nuisance. You get stuck for 1.5 hours in the Hebbal flyover. Why is it not been rectified for the last many years? And we are told the government we need elevated roads in many parts where there is traffic congestion. Traffic is the biggest problem in Bangalore today. But of course, with work from home, things may improve for the next 1 to 2 years. And if you look at the industry itself, this quarter is going to be a bad quarter because the world is not working. Next year is going to be a slow quarter. So this year is not a good year for IT, but from October onwards, we could get more work from abroad because 95% of the work done by IT is all exports. And then next year may be a good year because the whole world is going digital. So they have to transform their IT, and to transform, they need Indian companies to help them out.
Next is, can we see the current situation as an opportunity for India to be a self-reliant economy?
Look, no country can be self-reliant. Okay? You say self-reliant. If other countries shut their shop, how will you export? We import oil. 80% of India's oil is imported. We don't have enough oil. So we have to pay for the oil, even though the prices are less. To pay for the oil, we have to export. And we export some $80 billion of engineering goods. If other countries says we want to be self-reliant, we don't want to buy from you, what will India do? We export $150 billion of software. If America says we want to be reliant, we'll shut the door, what will it do? So we should have open trade. But we should be self-reliant in the sense that we give a boost to local manufacturing, help our locals to be competitive like China has done, so that they can create better goods, have higher quality, and we don't have to import many things that are not necessary. We have to import things where India has a shortage. For example, oil is a shortage. We have to import much electronics because we not set up industry. Now the import of electronics is coming down because we set up that industry. So we have to incentivize industries where the large-scale imports are there. For example, India imports $20 billion of coal, $20 billion of coal, 230 million tons. Why should we import so much of coal? We have enough coal, but coal is a monopoly. So they're not able to produce and sell and give it a reasonable price. So we have to liberalize, we have to support Indian industry, but we have to keep an open structure, and self-reliance will come when we do trade with the world on equal terms, and when we can export and we can import, but our industry is not hurt.
Next is, sir, what are your thoughts on massive 20 lakh crores economic package announced by the Prime Minister? Do you think this will help accelerate our economy and bring back demand environment?
Well, I think much of the 20 lakh crore is on the supply side. That, easing liquidity for MSMEs, easing liquidity for industry, doing away with many restrictions, reforms, etc. On the demand side, in terms of direct grants, giving people money, very less has been done. I guess the government of India is conservative, primarily because they want to wait for some time to see the impact before they do something. If they spend off all the money, they won't have any money left. This year, the fiscal deficit for India, both state and center, could go to 10%. Our tax collections may come down by 30%. Government is increasing borrowing from 7.2 lakh crore gross to about 12 lakh crores. Already the signs are there. So it's going to be a very difficult period for India. All of us should tighten our belts. The easy way out is give a lot of people a lot of money. Give them 4,000-5,000 rupees a month for 4 to 5 months. It may cost us 5 to 6 lakh crores. But then we won't have enough money left when you come out of COVID to create jobs. I guess the government of India is doing a very calibrated thing. The state government is also spending. The state governments don't have money. The revenues have fallen off. So I think when the shutdown is there, no revenues have come. How will they pay salaries? How will they take care of the police? So I think it's a very difficult situation. So in the 20 lakh crore, very substantial part, maybe 17, 18 lakh crores, is about liquidity support, policy, future spending, loans, etc. Maybe 2.5 lakh crores is direct transfer, which may affect the budget and increase the fiscal deficit. So, they announced it today, so we have to wait and see. It will definitely have an impact in the medium term and long term. In the short term, there'll be pain.
Sir, could you suggest measures for promoting micro and small industries in rural areas in the wake of relocation of many migrant workers back to their villages?
You see, let me give you an example of what China did to reform itself. In 1978, when China opened up under Deng Xiaoping, China told the farmers that you are free to produce and sell whatever you want at whatever price. They gave the farmers freedom. So farmers doubled, tripled their output in 10 years. They worked very hard. They sold, they made money, they created surpluses. And the government took a part of the surpluses, invested in creating roads and infrastructure. Then the Chinese government came and said, we'll have SEZs in the coast, and invited foreign capital. The whole district, the whole area was made SEZ. Not that bad policy India did of creating an SEZ on 1 acre, 2 acre, etc. So foreigners came, invested $1.5 trillion and brought in labor-intensive industry because the government said we want jobs. So a lot of people moved to the coast, Guangzhou came, new cities came up, Shenzhen came up, and they created a lot of employment. And because of employment, people got skills, people got more money, government used the money and then invested in industry to create a high-tech industry. So China has become a superpower. Now, India has made a lot of mistakes. India has not promoted agriculture, freed the farmer to sell what he wants. Because today, the middleman is making money, not the farmer. The farmer is impoverished, and farmers are people who depend on the land of 43%. Now, the farmer is free to sell, do what you want, sell to whomever you want. That is fantastic. And that means the farmer will get, hopefully, more money than he gets earlier. When the farmer has more money, he will invest in local industry. So second, India has to urbanize. Urbanization doesn't mean that you come to big cities and create slums. Urbanization means that India has 6,000 census towns as per the 2011 census. So in those towns, you have to put in money and invest and there create, concentration of human activity. Urbanization is concentration of human activity. Concentration of human activity creates specialization. Specialization increases productivity. Productivity leads to higher wages. And in those places, we must get in labor-intensive industries. Bangalore has 5 lakh people in the garment industry. Why should there be 5 lakh people in the garment industry? Because garment industry is labor intensive, and Bangalore is an expensive place. So we must incentivize labor intensive industries to go to smaller towns. But those smaller towns should have more infrastructure. They should have good power. They should have flathead factories. They should have good road connections. And if you have good road connections, things will work. Now, of course, India has got very good road connections. India has got good power. India should, now the state government should create flathead factories and invite them and give them tax incentives to come. I think we need increased urbanization. Karnataka is 40% urban. Tamil Nadu is 55% urban. Kerala is about 45% urban. The whole of South India is 45% urban. Bihar is 11% urban, very poor. Even UP, I think, is 24% urban, is very poor. All the poor states have less urbanization. It's urbanization that creates jobs and then creates labor-intensive industries because there's a constant human activity. So for all these migrants, my suggestion is that the governments in UP, Bihar should invest in the smaller towns and then create some infrastructure for labor-intensive industries to come, give them good facilities. And if they come there because labor is cheap, then we can work. In Karnataka, we must create labor-intensive industry in North Karnataka. South Karnataka is very rich, is very expensive. North Karnataka has got labor, it's got land, it's got water, it's got power. But there are not many industries there. So try to incentivize labor-intensive industries to go there. Labor-intensive industries are light manufacturing. There are industries like clothing, like garments, etc. We got a very large steel industry in Bellary. We could have light manufacturing there. So many things should be done by the government. In fact, R.V. Deshpande, the industry minister, brought in India's first policy for labor-intensive industries. Of course, Karnataka is very good in making policy. It has not been implemented properly. I hope they will now implement. And Bihar and UP, they have to do that. If they do that, in 10 years' time, we could build up a flourishing labor-intensive industry, create jobs. You know, Bangladesh was exporting $1 billion of garments about 15 years ago. That point of time, India is exporting 10. Now, Bangladesh is importing $50 billion. They don't grow cotton. They don't make yarn. They import from India, but they export more garments because they had good policies. And India is just exporting 25 billion. We have fallen behind and Bangladesh has taken over. So we need a special policy for labor-intensive industries.
Sir, what are your comments on the new definition of MSME? And again, why there should be PF and ESI for industry with less than 100 people?
Well, I think the definitions are very good because they need more capital equipment. They need more revenue. I think it's very good. One more thing should have been done to say that if you come to a medium-sized industry and you exceed the target, you'll continue to get the benefits for the next 3 years. Because suddenly if you, even though the target is 100 crores, if you go to 105 crores, suddenly you lose it. You must have a 3-year period where you continue to get it. And after that, it goes away. So you get a 3-year period to grow to 250 crores, enjoy it, and then it goes away. Now, ESIPF is social security. It is a very delicate thing. You must protect labor. Because today we are labor exploited. So you must protect labor. So means have time. And now, how do you make people, how do you give social security to people? You can easily say below 100 people, you don't have to have ESIPF. But if they fall ill, what happens to them? Where is the insurance? If they get hurt, what happens to them? Where are their savings? Even though it is forced, because, you know, everybody gets older. So we need savings. So I think the ESIPF structure is good, except that for the first 5 years of a person's work, first 5 years of membership of PF, the contribution should come down from 12% to maybe 6-7%. Employees' contribution to remain the same. I think it's necessary. But Government of India has got a scheme now that if you employ people with less than 15,000 salary, government will pay the PF and ESI contribution of the employer for the first 3 years. Now that is a very good policy. So this is not a problem for people, but I think, you know, we have to take care of people.
Actually, we are getting more and more questions, but due to lack of time, I'll be limiting to the last question. Okay. What would be the impact on Indian education sector in the coming days due to this corona situation? This would be the last question.
Indian education sector will be transformed. You know, I'll start with higher education. I was having a chat with Dr. Anil Sastapude, who is chairman of AICT. He said today we allow 20% of courses to be online. We will increase it to 50%. And we want flipped classrooms. We want Coursera courses, other courses to be done. And we are creating Swayam, a lot of courses. So Indian education will shift from a pure class-based to an online, offline mode. And I think that is remarkable because it'll expand the stream of knowledge. Even in schools today, in many parts of India, for the middle class, not the poorer classes, children, get up in the morning, wash up, put their uniform, have their breakfast, sit in front of a PC, and then they do the classes till 4 o'clock. Then they go back, remove the uniform, because education has gone online. Baiju, which is the largest edtech company, has seen increase in subscribers by 6 million people. They are 3.5 million. Now they increased by 6 million. Vedantu, Una Academy, everybody has seen an increase. So I think there's been a dramatic shift to online education. And online education is asynchronous, is very wide-ranging. You don't have to depend on any one professor or any one teacher. You get the best teachers to come. So Indian education will dramatically shift, hopefully. What about poorer people? The government has said they're opening up 12 channels, 13 channels in Doordarshan and TV to give online education to children. And hopefully in the schools too will have it. So I think the state government should invest massively in online education to give the children who come to government school the benefits of technology, because when they see rich videos, when they see so many things, and they have good teachers talking to them, there'll be a dramatic increase in learnability. So I think it will change.
So thank you very much, sir. Actually, we are now coming to the close of the program. So I thank Shri Mohandas Paiji for his valuable time and enlightening us on various topics, global as well as national. And his talk has been very, very informative and educative. I think future civil servants who are now watching would definitely benefit in their career from all these informations which they gathered from Shri Mohandas Paiji. So I thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
I also thank all the viewers who have actively participated in this program. So with this, we are coming to the end of the program.
Thank you very much. Good talking to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.